Hi everyone. In this video, let us discuss connection the Spring Boot application with the database. Particularly, I am doing here PostgreSQL. We can connect to any database like MongoDB, MySQL, any kind of database. Let's go step by step. We need to go to application properties. Then we need to write these lines of code here first. Spring.data source.url, it is specifies the JDBC URL for the Postgres SQL database. In this case, it points to Postgres SQL server running on localhost at port 5432. Then Spring.data source.username specifies the username to be used for the database. Then Spring.data source.password, that is specifies the password for the database user. Password also we can set whatever we want. Then SQL dialect configuration here, spring.jpa.properties.hibernate dialect, it specifies the hibernate SQL dialect for generating appropriate SQL statements. Here it is set to be Postgres SQL dialect. Now hibernate DDL auto configurations here, it is actually it configures the hibernate's behavior for the schema generation update. So means hibernate will automatically update the database schema based on entity mapping. So then it's a server port like we used previously. So let's go to the PostgreSQL database. So this is the PostgreSQL database. We call this PG admin. We will have servers like under PostgreSQL 14. We will have different databases. We can create whatever database we want. Now let us create one database. Like create a database. Suppose db 123 save. So I'm creating one database db123. We need to check under schema, and we need to check it is a relational database, so everything will be under tables. So this database name is db123. Now I'm writing this db 123 here. So now whenever you run this application, the database will be connected. Now let us create the tables, that is entities. So let us create a table called student table, and let's have this field. Let's understand each one by one. But before that, we need to import these annotations. That is, we need to add that related dependencies. For that, let's go to pom.xml. Let's understand first here. So here first, the parent, the spring boot dot boot and everything here. The purpose of this is a special kind of pom that provides default configurations, and it means versions of various dependencies to ensure compatibility. This one. Then if you talk about spring data jpa, this is a dependency we should add. The purpose of this is for spring data jpa hibernate and related components. It simplifies the setup for using jpa to interact with databases. Then we need to add postgresql jdbc driver. This one allows provides a PostgreSQL JDBC driver, allowing your Spring Boot application to connect to a PostgreSQL database. Then Spring Boot Starter Web. The Boot Starter Web includes dependencies for building web applications for Spring MVC. It sets up the necessary components for handling HTTP requests and responses. And Spring Boot Starter Test, it is for providing testing frameworks like JUnit and other frameworks. Then this is Java JSON version. Then after that we have lastly Maven plugin. So you need to save it. Even like you need to go and do Maven and then update project, so that it whenever you add some dependencies here, it will take some time to load it and to make it building and everything. So now let's go to the class at the rate, let's try to understand here. So so now let us understand step by step this code. The first thing is at the rate entity. We need to import it Java persistence. So this annotation indicates that the class, it's an entity which typically represents a table in a relational database. In the context of JPA, entities are used to model and map database tables. So what is meaning by JPA? So JPA is actually Java Persistence uh, API. It's a Java application for your object relational mapping ORM that allows developers to map Java objects to relational database, like here we're using PostgreSQL and vice versa. It provides a standard way of persisting Java objects into relational database and retrieving them back. JPA is a part of Java EE Enterprise Edition specification. It is also used for standalone Java SC applications also. So mainly it has some key concepts like entity manager, and object relation mapping. An entity, as we discussed, a Java entities and Java object that is persisted to a database. It typically corresponds to a row in a database table. So whenever you create the fields, like it will we can create a table here that we will demonstrate in just a few minutes. And so entities are annotated with the red entity to indicate they are JPA entities. An entity manager is a runtime interface responsible for managing lifecycle of entities, including persist, merge, remove, query. Developers interact with entity manager to perform database operations. And ORM, JPA uses ORM to map Java objects to database tables and vice versa. So basically, without Spring Boot also we can connect Java with the database like JDBC and Hibernate. That is more complex to understand. Here the Spring Boot makes the job more easy, and that too we are using Spring Boot. So now let us understand what is at the rate table annotation. It, like here, the annotation used to specify the name of a database table associated with the entity. In this case, the table name is set to like student table. Here at the rate ID, this annotation is used to mark the field that represents the primary key of an entity. So we are making this field, like whatever this ID, as an primary key. For that we are using at the rate annotation ID. Now at the rate generated value, this annotation used to specify how the primary key should be generated. In this case, I am using generation type, that is identity. It suggests the database should be automatically assign identity to the primary key when a new record is inserted. Now at the rate column. So at the rate column annotation used to specify the name of a column in the database table associated with the annotation field. Here the primary key column is named as student ID. And here also, like here at the rate column. Now let us just run this Spring Boot application, run as Spring Boot app. Whenever you run this application, then we can go to the database and we can check the table is uh, created there. Now I'm going to check whether that the table is created in the PostgreSQL database or not. Like the database name is DB123, and we should go to the schemas. Then in the public, then we should go to the tables. Let's just refresh this that. Let's just refresh this database. So you can see it is an student table. We need to go there. We need to click here view data. So you can see the table is created with the student ID and student description. So now I will share that database video which I shared previously. We need to know everything about database now. Like when you're working as a backend Java along with Java backend Spring Boot application, we need to have more knowledge on database, SQL, and everything. So here we can do all the CRUD operations, like all the SQL things. We should go there. Here, write an query, then we can simply write this query, insert into that table name and the id and student description and values. Then we can simply run this query, so it's inserted successfully. Let's insert again like 2, and let's change the name, something name Ashok. We can insert again. You can see and you can check the uh, data here, like 1 and 2. This is how we can insert the records here. So this is how we need to connect the database to the Spring Boot application.